Callaway on Jed Lowrie injury. 0 hours 2 minutes and 41 seconds. New York Mets manager Mickey Callaway goes into detail on Jed Lowrie's injury, a recruiting trip with Alex Rodriguez and Michael Conforto. Mickey Callaway is setting the bar high for Michael Conforto. The Mets manager believes so much in the soon-to-be 26-year-old outfielder's potential that he feels Conforto can be among the game's elite. "I think he can be one of the best left-handed hitters in the league, myself," Callaway said Wednesday. "Just the way he approaches his at-bats, the swing, the pitches that he covers, it's special. A lot of guys can't just take a ball and go the opposite field and drive it the way he does, and that's not the only place he has power. He's able to stay on the breaking ball that misses down and drive it out to the pole side as well. So he covers a lot of pitches." Conforto, a 2017 All-Star, struggled throughout the first half of 2018 after recovering from shoulder surgery. But in September, Conforto hit .286 with a .981 OPS, 9 home runs, 29 RBI, 8 doubles and 17 runs scored. He also hit .250 with an .808 OPS against lefties last season, an improvement on his .212 average and .729 OPS in 2017. "We saw him last year finally get to bat against some lefties, and it took a little bit, but towards the end of the season, he was covering pitches that lefties threw in there too, even quality pitches, and hitting the ball out of the ballpark against those guys," Callaway said. "So he can cover lefties, righties, he's great out in the outfield, and he can be as special as anyone in the game at the plate. Watch." Mets Michael Conforto explains how he's improved his swing. Greater than read more related. Michael Conforto on Mets GM's "Come Get Us" post. "I love that mantra, greater than read more related." Jeff McNeil, penciled into regular outfield role, which will impact Michael Conforto. Greater than read more. July 24, 2018. New York City, New York, USA. New York Mets injured left fielder Yoenis Cespedes, 52, watches from the dugout during the first inning against the San Diego Padres at Citi Field. Mandatory credit. Brad Penner. USA Today Sports. Brad Penner, John Harper, SNY.TV. Twitter, Tampa. Having missed all of last season with surgery in April to remove bone spurs on both of his heels, Troy Tulowitzki seemed to have something of a message for Yoenis Cespedes. "Good luck. Great vibes from Mets camp." 0 hours, 1 minute and 44 seconds with Andy Martino in Port St. Lucy, the Say Anything crew discusses how Mets camp under Brodie Van Wagenen has differed from years past. Doug Williams, Nelson Figueroa and Andy Martino have an all-new episode of the Say Anything podcast. They discuss how good the vibe is at this year's Mets camp compared to years past. They also dive into Manny Machado's deal with the Padres being a good thing, as well as Bryce Harper also possibly leaving the NL East. Click below to listen. September 16, 2018, Atlanta, Georgia, USA. Washington Nationals right fielder Bryce Harper, 34, in the dugout against the Atlanta Braves during the second inning at SunTrust Park. Mandatory credit. Adam Hagee. USA Today Sports. Adam Hagee. "It's unclear how big a contract the Giants will have offered to free agent Bryce Harper, but there is a continued sense Wednesday that they have a shot at signing him, with the Phillies having a tough road to get it done," reports SNY's Andy Martino. Harper, who is seeking more than the $300 million Manny Machado got from the Padres, has turned down multiple offers worth more than $300 million in recent weeks, reports FanCred's John Heyman. Martino reported Tuesday after Machado landed with the Padres that Harper to the Phillies was not a sure thing. Jed Lowrie speaks on knee injury. 0 hours 0 minutes and 41 seconds. New York Mets infielder Jed Lowrie speaks for the first time about feeling constant pain behind his knee. Jed Lowrie, one of Brodie Van Wagenen's off-season signings, is dealing with soreness in the back of his left knee and is set to undergo an MRI on Thursday. Lowrie, whom the Mets signed to a 2-year, $20 million contract, hasn't been participating in all activities. "We need to figure out what's going on first before we start worrying about how concerned we are," Lowrie said. Lowrie said he first felt the soreness while running and it bothered him while doing high-explosive activities. He did take live batting practice for the third straight day Wednesday, he said. A rod and Brodie Van Wagenen 0 hours 0 minutes and 39 seconds. New York Mets GM Brodie Van Wagenen had a nice conversation with Alex Rodriguez at Mets camp. "I was wrong. Tim Tebow is a big deal, but Alex Rodriguez is clearly on another level. Due to timing, I happened to be in the media room Wednesday when Rodriguez was getting wired up and prepping for what will be a walk and talk with Brodie Van Wagenen for ESPN. Indoors, he slunk in his chair, headphone always in, arms relaxed. It was just another day at the office, despite being surrounded by 7 to 10 production people and me, looking like a nervous teenager. I said hello, because I had to do it. He understandably couldn't care less, but was not disrespectful. I'm not going to lie, my hands were shaking too much to take a picture with him. I'm a dork. But, the point being, it was not difficult to sense what would happen next." Michael Conforto in the cage 0 hours 0 minutes and 33 seconds. New York Mets outfielder Michael Conforto explains how he's improved his swing this offseason to Todd Zale. Mets outfielder Michael Conforto explains to Todd Zale how he's improved his swing this offseason. To see the full interview, check out Mets Hot Stove at 5:30 p.m. on SNY. Brodie Van Wagenen, Matthew Cerrone, MetsBlog.com. It's not that Tim Tebow is a local legend and brings with him an enormous crowd that make his autograph sensation so unique. Mike Piazza drew similar crowds, as did David Wright. The difference between Piazza and Wright and Tebow is that, when any fan is lucky enough to be chosen by Tebow and gets their item signed, the fan immediately turns around and is visibly giddy. In the case of Wright or Piazza, obviously fans were pumped to get the autograph, but they'd remain focused looking to see if there was another player coming down the line. In the case of Tebow, the selected glow become frozen and childlike, looking as if they don't know what to do next. Surprises here. MLB Pipeline released a new list of the Mets' top 30 prospects ahead of the 2019 season, and the first 2 names should come as little surprise for Mets fans. They've been hearing plenty about Peter Alonso and Andres Gimenez over the last few months, so it makes sense the duo are the first and second-ranked prospects in the system, respectively. Alonso is closer to the major leagues than Gimenez, who finished last season with Double-A Binghamton. Alonso is currently competing for a spot on the opening day roster, but the expectation is that he will begin the season in the minors until the Super 2 deadline passes, which would give the Mets an extra year of control over the University of Florida product. Best of Mets Hot Stove 0 hours 2 minutes and 21 seconds. Mets Hot Stove had some marquee guests with Noah Syndergaard, Seth Lugo, Steven Matz and Wilson Ramos. Watch the best of their interviews. Wilson Ramos, Steven Matz, Noah Syndergaard and Seth Lugo all stopped by Mets Hot Stove to talk baseball and expectations for the 2019 season with SNY's Gary Apple. Mickey Callaway mic'd up 0 hours 0 minutes and 56 seconds. Mickey Callaway is mic'd up at Mets spring training. Hear what he has to say to Edwin Diaz after a bullpen session and about Mets fans. The Mets are out in full force down in Port St. Lucie for another year of spring training. As usual, fans flocked to the team's facility down in sunny Florida to see their Mets in action, up close and personal. Mets manager Mickey Callaway absolutely loves it. SNY was able to mic up Callaway during one of the team sessions, and he confessed his appreciation for how loyal Mets fans are as he enters his second season leading the squad. He also checks out his new closer Edwin Diaz, put some working out in the bullpen. Last spring, Jose Reyes, at 34 years old, and Rosario, at 22 years old, looked and behaved like bros. When Reyes laughed at a joke, Rosario laughed at the joke. Where Jose stretched, stretched. If Jose was at shortstop, Rosario was at shortstop. It all made sense. They had similar builds, similar energy, similar stories and similar expectations when entering the big leagues. The two openly discussed talking and texting during off-seasons, with Reyes essentially playing the role of life coach, which is a major reason why advisors pushed Sandy Alderson to keep him around most of last season. This time last year, Reyes, Rosario, Asdrubal Cabrera and Yainer Cespedes were inseparable, with Am looking like the young pup pushing to be in with the big dogs. That was then, though. This is now. What Machado deal means for Mets. 0 hours 0 minutes and 51 seconds. Manny Machado agreed to a 10-year, $300 million to play for the Padres, but what does this deal mean for the Mets going forward? SNY's Andy Martino and Todd Sale analyze the Manny Machado deal from a Mets perspective and explain why this is good news for them. September 28, 2018, Denver, Colorado, USA. Washington Nationals outfielder Bryce Harper, 34, bats in the fourth inning against the Colorado Rockies at Coors Field. Mandatory credit. Russell Lansford, USA Today Sports. Russell Lansford. Now that Manny Machado has agreed to sign a mega deal with the Padres, the Phillies have lost out on their first choice as they aim to spend stupid money. Their second choice is Bryce Harper, but landing him isn't a sure thing. Although their pursuit of him is serious, word around Harper is that he remains unsure if he wants to play in Philadelphia, reports SNY's Andy Martino, who says the Phillies must convince him to sign there if they want to save face. Martino adds that Harper's inconsistency and defensive decline has scared off many suitors, including the Yankees. Alonso talks with Steve Jelbs. 0 hours 1 minute and 37 seconds. New York Mets prospect Peter Alonso shares why he wanted to face reigning Cy Young winner Jacob deGrom in a live BP session. Mets prospect Peter Alonso faced Jacob deGrom during live batting practice earlier this week. And while he didn't make any hard contact, Alonso told SNY's Steve Jelbs the ball still looks like a grain of rice to him. He enjoyed the challenge. If I want to be on time and ready to go, why not face the Cy Young winner? Alonso, who is spending his second year at Mets camp, said his taste of camp in 2018 was invaluable, and just wants to be a sponge while learning from the veterans. September 26, 2018, New York City, New York, USA. New York Mets starting pitcher Jacob deGrom, 48, pitches against the Atlanta Braves during the first inning at Citi Field. Mandatory credit. Brad Penner, USA Today Sports. Brad Penner, the Yankees' Luis Severino took a bit of a jab at Mets ace Jacob deGrom on Sunday over deGrom's potential self-imposed innings restriction if he doesn't get an extension by opening day. On Monday, Severino claimed I wasn't saying anything about deGrom's situation after he clearly did just that. On Tuesday, deGrom responded, "Everybody is entitled to their own opinions," deGrom told Matt Ahilt of NJ.com. The business side of the game is why you have agents. They're looking out for my best interest and advising me. First Data Field, SNY, the Mets and St. Lucie, Florida, County reached an agreement Tuesday to renovate First Data Field, where the Mets spend spring training, and keep the team there until 2042, according to the TC Palms' Kiona Gardner. Amid a report last week that indicated the Mets could have blown up their stadium renovation deal, the two sides were to bring forth a contract to county commissioners on Tuesday that outlines the renovation project, according to Gardner. "We're pleased with today's outcome," the Mets said in a statement. "Thanks to the St. Lucie County Board of County Commissioners and the county legal team that worked with our team over the holiday. We are thankful for the continued support of our fans and the local businesses." Mets target 2019 postseason. 0 hours 1 minute and 13 seconds. Mickey Callaway and Todd Frazier comment on Callaway's forceful spring training speech to the team and their playoff aspirations. Mets manager Mickey Callaway told players and coaches to stand up if they have ever been to the playoffs. "It was more than none," third baseman Todd Frazier said with a smile. Callaway, entering his second season leading the Mets, has a mission for his club to make the playoffs in 2019 after a disappointing 77-85 season. And Frazier is among those who believe in the team. I think that was exciting to see and I think everybody's getting that itch to get back in the playoffs, Frazier said on Monday. Busy day for Robinson Cano. 0 hours 0 minutes and 48 seconds. Watch a sizzle of the best moments of Robinson Cano's first official day at Mets spring training in Port St. Lucie. It's the same, but different every year at Mets camp. Same uniforms, same fields, same drills, same sun, fans and heat. However, protocol and the general vibe in camp often changes from year to year. For instance, under Willie Randolph, camp was very serious, disciplined and focused on business and professionalism. The Terry Collins years were more upbeat, peppy and chatty. Last year, which was Mickey Callaway's first spring ever running his own camp, things were a bit sporadic, with his looking more like a player getting to know people than a manager leading a team. Jacob deGrom, SNY. Luis Severino claims he wasn't specifically discussing Jacob deGrom's situation, despite saying $17 million and, you know, his name. During an interview with SNY on Monday, the Yankees ace was informed that his comments about the National League Cy Young winner were getting a lot of attention. "Nobody has said anything to me about it," he told SNY contributor John Harper. New York Mets Noah Syndergaard delivers a pitch during the third inning against the Boston Red Sox at Fenway Park. Greg M. Cooper, USA Today Sports. The Mets' primary focus at the moment is on a potential long-term extension for Jacob deGrom, but another one of their prized starters also appears open to a long-term deal. Enter Noah Syndergaard. "Yeah, I think so," Syndergaard told NJ.com's Matty Hilt on Sunday when asked about signing long-term. "I love being a Met, I love New York City, the fan base is great and has been very kind to me. I see kind of the routes the game is going with Bryce Harper and Manny Machado have still yet to sign, and it's kind of scary, honestly. It's definitely something different than I'm used to. Only time will tell." While deGrom's extension deadline and a potential self-imposed innings limit if he doesn't get the extension has sent shockwaves through Mets camp, "Go out and pay deGrom," Syndergaard told A. Halt. "Give him what he's worth. The easier play for the Mets would almost certainly be locking up Syndergaard." GM Brodie Van Wagenen sets tone. 0 hours 1 minute and 10 seconds. Brandon Nimmo and Michael Conforto have nothing but praise for new GM Brodie Van Wagenen and the tone he set this offseason. Mets GM Brodie Van Wagenen's "come get us" declaration to the rest of the NL East a few weeks ago was a bit surprising, but it has gone over well in the clubhouse at spring training as the team prepares for the 2019 season. "I love that mantra," Michael Conforto said Monday morning. "If you're not showing up to be the best team in the league, there is no point showing up." The comments from Conforto have been echoed by others, including Brandon Nimmo, who repeated another one of Van Wagenen's mantras, one he uttered for the first time during his introductory press conference. September 26, 2018, New York City, New York, USA. New York Mets starting pitcher Jacob deGrom, 48, reacts after the top of the 8th inning against the Atlanta Braves at Citi Field. Mandatory credit. Brad Penner. USA Today Sports. Brad Penner. Luis Severino fired off an unexpected fastball toward Mets pitcher Jacob deGrom on Sunday. The Yankees ace, who recently inked a 4-year, $40 million extension to buy out his arbitration years, was critical of the reigning National League Cy Young Award winner for considering an innings limit this season if he does not sign an extension with the Mets. "For me, I would never do something like that," Severino told Randy Miller of NJ.com. "I want to pitch. I love to pitch. I love this game. I'd never do that." Dave Island mic'd up with Mets. 0 hours 1 minute and 35 seconds. SNY mic'd up Mets pitching coach Dave Island for a day at Mets spring training including deGrom's and Syndergaard's first live BP sessions. SNY mic'd up Mets pitching coach Dave Island for a day at Mets spring training including Jacob deGrom and Noah Syndergaard's first live BP sessions. New York Yankees shortstop Adeiny Hechavarria at bat at Tropicana Field. Kim Clement, USA Today Sports. The Mets signed shortstop Adeiny Hechavarria to a minor league deal with an invite to spring training, SNY.TV, as Steve Jelbs confirmed. Hechavarria, 29, adds department to Mets infield that already consists of M. Rosario, Jed Lowrie and Robinson Cano. Last season, Hechavarria hit .247, .279, .345 with 6 home runs and 31 RBIs in 94 games with 3 teams, the Rays, Pirates and Yankees. Bryce Harper: we might finally get one of the top free agents off the board by the end of tonight, as talks surrounding Bryce Harper are intensified, per Anchored Sports' John Heyman. The Mets' NL East rival Phillies are the favorite here, and former Marlins president David P. Samson is hearing that their offer to the 26-year-old is worth $310 million over 10 years. The Phillies said they were going to spend stupid money this offseason, and that deal would certainly do it to go along with their other signees like Gene Segura, David Robertson, and Andrew McCutchen. If that is the case, Harper and his agent Scott Boras would get their desired $300 million long-term deal. It doesn't top Giancarlo Stanton's $325 million deal he signed with the Marlins back in 2015. Cano appreciates David Wright. 0 hours 0 minutes and 56 seconds Robinson Cano was given David Wright's locker in Port St. Lucie. His response about Wright and what it means will make Mets fans happy. When Robinson Cano got down to Port St. Lucie, he saw his new locker in the clubhouse with his new orange and blue threads. But it isn't just any locker Cano was given. It was David Wright's locker. Wright won't be in the clubhouse this season, but instead, will serve as a special assistant in the Mets front office. So the Mets thought giving Cano, one of the fresh faces in the building, his empty locker, and Cano realizes how much of an honor it is. The Big Three highlight the day. 0 hours 0 minutes and 56 seconds Watch highlights from a busy day at Mets camp in Port St. Lucie. DeGrom, Syndergaard and Wheeler all took the mound against live hitters. The Mets' Big Three of Jacob deGrom, Noah Syndergaard and Zach Wheeler highlighted Sunday's action in Port St. Lucie, Florida, as New York readies for its Grapefruit League opener. Highlights from Cano's presser. 0 hours 2 minutes and 30 seconds Robinson Cano talked to the media for the first time in Florida. Highlights include why he thinks he and the Mets can be in the playoffs. Much like the man who brought him back to New York, Robinson Cano has high expectations for the Mets this season. Mets GM Brodie Van Wagenen wanted to change the team's culture, and he did so almost immediately with a blockbuster deal that landed Cano and closer Edwin Diaz. Van Wagenen has since made other deals, like signing Jed Lowrie and Wilson Ramos, to add more firepower in what everyone hopes will be a playoff season for New York. That's exactly what Cano envisioned when he waived his no-trade clause immediately after learning a deal was in place to send him back to the concrete jungle. He knows this team has the potential to make it back to the postseason. deGrom, Syndergaard race. 0 hours 0 minutes and 21 seconds Competition is everywhere at spring training, even if it has two dominant pitchers, deGrom and Syndergaard, casually racing on their way back. One of the best parts of spring training each year is watching the in-house competition that takes place between the players. Some players, though, have it easier than others as established pieces, like Jacob deGrom and Noah Syndergaard for the Mets. But who says they can't have their own competition? After each starter threw a live batting practice session, deGrom and Syndergaard were walking to leave the field when they hauled it into a sprint to see who would reach the gate first. John Harper, SNY.TV, Twitter, spring training. In some ways it's the best time for baseball writers, a time when players, managers, and executives are more relaxed and willing to talk before the pressure of the long season takes hold. I first went to spring training in 1982, and suffice it to say we writers were a lot more relaxed as well in those days, before internet. Deadlines and social media changed everything about the job. The quotes aren't nearly as colorful these days, when players seemingly live in fear of the Twitter reaction to even the smallest misstep. But as I head to Florida to write about both the Mets and Yankees for SNY, there's still nothing better than baseball and sunshine in February. Tim Tebow spoke to Kyler Murray. 0 hours 0 minutes and 48 seconds New York Mets prospect Tim Tebow has proven he's a two-sport athlete and had some sound advice for NFL prospect Kyler Murray. Before Kyler Murray decided he would pursue a career in the NFL as a quarterback over his baseball career with the Oakland A's, he sought advice from another fellow Heisman Trophy winner, Tim Tebow. While the 31-year-old Mets prospect did not have to make a decision between football and baseball out of college. Like Murray, he understands how difficult a decision this is for the 21-year-old but had a simple message for him: follow your heart. Tim Tebow talks Mets journey. 0 hours, 1 minute and 36 seconds. New York Mets prospect Tim Tebow speaks about his goals for this season heading into camp and his journey within the Mets organization. Mets prospect Tim Tebow is always a hot commodity in Port St. Lucie. But while the past 2 seasons he didn't have a shot at breaking camp with the Mets, things feel different now for the 31-year-old. Mets GM Brodie Van Wagenen said earlier this offseason that Tebow has a shot at making the majors this season, making this spring training critical for him. Tebow will likely start the season in AAA Syracuse, Van Wagenen pointed out, but this will be the first step to proving he is worth a call-up this season. Use this spring training as a time really get a lot better and improve and making strides because this will be sort of the biggest spring training for me, Tebow said. Before, I didn't know what I was doing, it was my first time. Then last year, I didn't play one snap, one pitch of outfield. I'd only took a few at-bats and most of those I probably took steps back because I was trying to do it with bad form and pain. Peter Alonso talks making roster. 0 hours, 1 minute and 19 seconds. New York Mets prospect Peter Alonso has a lot of hype to be the Mets' next first baseman. How does he feel entering camp this spring? At this time last year, Mets top prospect Peter Alonso wasn't prepared to compete for a job in Port St. Lucie. That certainly isn't the case following a season where he teared through the minors. There is a good chance the Mets break camp with Alonso as their starting first baseman on opening day. And that is the obvious goal for the 24-year-old slugger, who admitted this year has a different feel in spring training. It's definitely a different feel from last year because last year I was a non-roster invitee, same as this year, but I'd only had couple weeks of experience in AA, Alonso told the media on Saturday. Got up to AAA last year and I kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. So I'm just going to work hard and see what happens, as he left his position as prominent agent and head of baseball at CA. Brodie Van Wagenen entered his new job as general manager of the Mets surrounded by countless questions. However, while some people continue to wonder about his preparedness and potential conflicts of interest, one thing is clear, he isn't short on confidence. I think 84 wins is light, Van Wagenen told WFAN's Mike Francesca on Monday. If we do the things we're capable of, we're going to win. We're not afraid of the competition outside of the division, and we're certainly not afraid of the teams inside the division. We will and should be a playoff team. The confidence emitting from Van Wagenen isn't just limited to fans, players and media, but is also being noticed by rival executives. Sep. 26, 2018, New York City, New York, USA. New York Mets starting pitcher Jacob deGrom, 48, reacts after the top of the 8th inning against the Atlanta Braves at Citi Field. Mandatory credit. Brad Penner, USA Today Sports. Brad Penner, John Harper, SNY.TV, Twitter. Everyone seems shocked that Jacob deGrom left the door open to the notion he'd consider limiting his innings in 2019 if he doesn't the contract extension he